Trade unions. The first thing is you should be able to define what is a trade union. All right. So we say it is an association. You can even call it an organization. An association of employees. ये एम्प्लॉयज जो हैं इसके मेंबर्स होते हैं. ठीक है, वी इवन कॉल देम मेंबर्स. And it is formed to protect and promote, not just save, yani not just defensive, but sometimes they can even go aggressive, promote the interests of its members. Okay. बात ये कि हाउ डू दे रन इट. ये एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन अगर उन्होंने बना दी है ऑन पेपर, सो हाउ दे गोना रन इट, बिकॉज it has to be properly structured. It would require money. Okay, so how will that money come from? Okay, so unions are formed and financed by members with an annual meaning yearly, subscription. Yani if you want to be part of the union, you will have to make an annual fee, and that fee will be used whenever the union needs it. Like for example, अगर किसी के साथ grievance हो रहा है तो उसको पे करने में यूज़ हो सकता है, या फिर अगर कोई प्रोटेस्ट करना है तो उसको फाइनेंस करने के लिए हो सकता है, यू नो. और जो बेसिकली जो हेड ऑफ द यूनियन होता है, head of the union, the person who's going to go and negotiate, will be selected by members. Okay, he will be selected by the members. ठीक है, and he or she is called steward. So you should know at least 6 aims of a union. Okay, so let me write what is the union for. So the aims of trade union, I'm just gonna put down a list over here. If you had to explain, you must, but you should know at least 6 of them. One on the top is better pay. Okay. Other than that, it could be better working conditions. It could be for shorter working hours, especially if one is really exhausting them. Then it could be about health and safety related things. They can even go for like the training aspect. Okay, we should be trained and things like that. Other than that, we can even talk about creating equal opportunities in the hiring firing process. It could be, and any other kinds of like benefits for members, and they can even influence over decisions at work. So these are some of the aims that the union works for. Now, in order to get these aims, obviously there has to be a negotiation, right? Negotiation between the union head, the steward, and the employer. It could be the HR department or the manager or director, whoever, and they can come to terms with what these people want. Okay, now if the negotiations do not go well, okay, so we're going to say what are the powers of the trade unions? What can they do? Well, they have a series of things that they can obviously do. Number one, they can go on strike. All right. Strike is like a form of protest in which they will say, we're not coming in, we're not working. And so obviously the firm is going to lose out. Number two, they can go for something called picketing. Picketing is also a protest in which you have like all these banners and you try to defame the business by showing that they're not listening to our requirement and they're ill-treating us, or vagera vagera. So out in the streets outside they would hold the banners and go bashing. Then they can go for something called work to rule. Now, work to rule is an idea in which workers tend to follow every single procedure to the book. Okay, so workers follows the procedures to the book, which delays the production process. Now, let me give you an example. Let's suppose you have a car manufacturing. Toyota has a car manufacturing. There's a union, and they want to protest in a way. They want to hurt the employer in a way. So they can go for something called work to rule. Matlab, now according to the procedures, or like for example from the quality check point of view, there must be a lot of elements के quality check किस तरह करनी है. There might be like 15-20 notes that you have to look really closely. Now, for an experienced worker, they might do it quality control in a way कि हाँ जी pretty quickly they're able to do it by ignoring certain rules. Normally, those ignoring the rules would work. लेकिन क्योंकि now they want to protest, so they would go and follow each and every rule, and obviously that's going to take more and more time. Now, if the employer says, why are you working slow? They can always say, you know what, we're following every single procedure in the books. Now, unfortunately, it takes time for that to happen. So we're taking that time. So, uske andar, employer can't really do anything because you're following the rules and the procedures. इसके अलावा, you can even go for something called go slow. Go slow is not about following rules, it's just that you lower your productivity levels. Okay? You lower your productivity levels, obviously your production slows down, and lesser production means lesser output to sell, and that's going to put the pressure on the employer. Now, different countries have different ways of dealing with this. I heard in some case study we read, it was a case for Japan, and car manufacturing के अंदर what Japanese do is that if they want to protest and they want to hurt their employer, what they do is they tend to overproduce. They increase their productivity so much that the car production increases. And in Japan, because there is, it's a very small country, so land बहुत महंगा है. If you overproduce, those cars have to be stocked. And when you stock those cars in parking lots, once those parking lots and warehouses are full, then the employer comes into a problem that we need to get more storing places. So they actually work ulta and they overproduce. In this way, again, the employer can't really protest that why are you doing overproduction or something like that. So that's their way. The main idea is to somehow pressurize uh, the employer. Now, opposite to that, like I mentioned, if the trade union becomes too strong, okay, then what are the powers with employers? What can they do? So basically, employers can go for something called a lockdown. Factory बंद कर दी. One day in the morning when the workers come, they see, oh, there's a lock outside, we can't go inside, we can't work, we can't protest, we can't do anything, we're going to lose income obviously because of a lockdown. This is something that employer would not want to do it, but obviously if they have to, they have to. All you can have an industry association. The industry association, all factory owners can create an association. It is there in Karachi. You have site association, textile associations, and what do they do? Well, basically, if they have to protect themselves from this situation, they can do it. They get together, they have a discussion. If they have to ban certain steward or union head because they're being unreasonable, the association can pass the laws, and then to collectively they can actually go after the union and sort it. Okay, and then lastly, you have this applies to both the union powers, and it applies to the employers also. You have government legislation. Okay, एंड ये गवर्नमेंट लेजिस्लेशन दोनों के लिए अप्लाई होती है कि अगर यूनियन बहुत ज़्यादा स्ट्रॉन्ग हो जाए या अगर एम्प्लॉयर बहुत ज़्यादा स्ट्रॉन्ग हो जाए, तो दोनों को गवर्नमेंट की लेजिस्लेशन के अंदर यू कैन डेफिनेटली सॉर्ट